I'm in a small room with one of my team members. Let's call him John. I'm really angry and frustrated due to a situation out in production 5 minutes ago. And I asked John what the hell he was doing. John goes through the roof, and now we are both screaming. I realized that this wasn't getting us anywhere positive, so I ended the conversation there. Because I needed to think, and we both needed to calm down a bit. I started to realize that my leadership wasn't working at all. And the next year was going to be a big, big change. And I had to change to turn this boat around. If we go back to my first time as a leader in other departments, I mean, it was like sailing in fine weather. Never any storms. That lasted for about 18 months. Then I was assigned a new department. And it was like sailing into the biggest storm ever. There were ergonomical issues, big quality issues, and we were stopping production every day, up to 1 hour, my team. But the worst of all was the work environment. It was really bad. Everybody was feeling really bad. And we had an absence rate over 20%. Suddenly I was exposed to situations that I have never experienced before. We were missing between 5 and 12 operators every day. I started every morning calling other departments, trying to borrow operators. But at the end, I always had to put my team leaders in to fill up the gaps. And that, of course, made me focus on their stuff instead of working with the root causes to our problems. The situation caused me to act and to focus on the wrong things. I couldn't solve everything on my own, not even close. And I began to feel worse and worse. I remember several mornings sitting on my couch at home. My kids stood at the door, fully dressed, calling me, asking me why I wasn't coming. But I didn't have any energy left to go to work at all. But I did. The chaos got even worse. And I used the tools that I had, my length, my body language, raising my voice. I acted like I thought a boss should act. I took decisions and I gave orders. A few weeks later, I'm standing in production. And I see one of my team members not doing what he's supposed to do. So I immediately went over to him, and as he turned around, I told him what I thought about it. I really told him. And before he got the chance to answer me, I turned around and I walked away. And as I turned around, I saw one of my best colleagues standing a few meters away. And I could see in his face that he was not impressed of what he'd just seen. But I went over to him, and the first thing that he said, "You okay? Do you feel good?" "I feel great." he said some more things, and we stood there talking, and I only agreed because I didn't know what to say. But on the inside, I felt that he was wrong because I was the boss. When lying in bed that night, I was thinking more and more about what my colleague had said. I didn't think my feedback to my team member was too straightforward. I mean, it was a serious situation. But at some point, I started to realize that he had a point in what he said. And I started to compare my behavior with my colleague. I mean, he knew his team members. He was always talking to them, listening, and he always looked happy doing it. I also realized that it was my respect for him and our relationship that had such a huge impact in what he said to me. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I didn't get 1 second of sleep that night. And I mean, I didn't sleep 1 second that night. And I would say it was around 4 or 5 in the morning that I think the penny dropped. And then I realized that I didn't have any relationships at all with my team members. At all. So, back in the room with John, second time. Both had the time to cool down. And I started by saying, this time, I will be quiet and only listen. So, John started talking, but I could almost immediately feel that he was getting annoyed. And I remember thinking, oof, not again. Not again. But as he continued, I felt that he was getting a bit cooler, just a bit. So I kept quiet. And after about 5 minutes or so, it seemed like the frustration was gone. So then I felt now it's time for me to jump in. And the first thing he did, he laughed and he said, "You know what? Maybe I overreacted that first time, but just maybe." So we talked for 5 minutes or so, and of course we agreed upon how to behave at work. John left the room, and I was still sitting there, and I remember looking out the window and thinking, just what the hell did just happen? I was in some way in a shock, because the only thing I did was to listen and without interrupting him, and everything became served on the silver plate instead. A few weeks passes, and I start to get some feedback repeatedly regarding one of my other teammates, members. Let's call her Lisa. Lisa was always coming in the morning at the last second, every day. And I didn't think that she was interested at all. And she also had an abnormally high absence rate. I tried my old ways of talking to her, but I always felt that I was, at the end, talking to myself. I tried saying good morning to her, but I would say good morning, and she would say, yep. And it was kind of hard to get some eye contact also, so I was thinking more and more that maybe it's time for me to end the contract. But then I thought that was the easy way out. So I talked to my team leaders for a while, and we decided that we should give her the responsibility of one task. And we did. And the next weeks were a total change. Lisa solved the task perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. And she was now performing. And when I were coming in the morning, now it was hard to say good morning before her. And now she was walking after me, wanting more responsibility. I had been so focused on chasing KPIs. Instead, I started focusing on the people. I started asking them how they wanted it instead of telling them what to do. And as I got to know them, I gave them the responsibility and the permission to take decision in trying new ideas. And that became a huge impact on the engagement. Huge. And also on our KPIs. As a leader, it's important to know your team to be able to support them in the best possible way. In the beginning, my brain had decided everything. Now we were starting to use the power and the strength of the 36 brains that we had access to. Now it was beginning to be fun to go to work. And the absence rate was now under 3%. In the morning, I was there before production started, saying good morning, talking to my team members. I spent as much time in production as possible, because that way it was easy for me to see if someone wasn't doing well or feeling well. And then I could support them as quick as possible. The first year in this department was the worst year in my working career. Was. Now it has become the absolute best. It was an extreme development for my team, myself, and of course my leadership. And I learned that it is the team members who are the most important, not me. Being a leader that spends as much time as possible with my team, I will get to know and understand their needs and interests. And together, we will create the best work environment. And the best with all of this, today, I'm the one standing at the door, calling my kids, it's time to go. Thank you.